What does it take for an NFL team to hit rock bottom? Try ticket prices lower than a fast food meal. That's what Browns fans are facing. A grim snapshot of fan base checking out. The coaching decisions have gone from cautious to catastrophic, with Kevin Stefanski refusing to consider a move everyone's screaming for. Start Shedeur Sanders. Whether it's fear, pride, or indecision, the refusal to pivot has become the defining story of the season. And now, the team's losing more than games. It's bleeding relevance, reputation, and respect. Bold moves define great leadership. This moment is the Browns' test. Playing it safe has left them stuck, uninspired, and sinking. A franchise can't afford to ignore its fans, especially when they're begging for a lifeline.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Starting Sanders wouldn't just be a football move, it would be a statement. The question is, does this leadership have the nerve to make it? The Cleveland Browns are in trouble. Deep, unmistakable, fan walking away level trouble. And this time, it's not about a tough loss or an underwhelming roster. This is about something far more dangerous. A total breakdown in trust between the team and its fan base. Let's start with the most eye-popping sign of the collapse. NFL game tickets, in a city like Cleveland, one of the most passionate football fan bases in the country, are being listed for as low as $6. $6. For perspective, that's less than parking, less than a stadium hot dog, and less than the processing fee to even buy a ticket. That price doesn't just reflect bad on-field play. It reflects how far fan confidence has fallen. Because when fans decide the experience of going to a Browns game isn't worth the cost of lunch, it's not about money. It's about value, and right now, they see none. The frustration runs deep. And it's not just about a poor record or another disappointing season. The true issue is the growing sense that no one in charge seems to have a plan. No vision. No urgency. Just autopilot. And that's where things get dangerous. At the center of this boiling tension is head coach Kevin Stefanski. The criticism around him isn't based on one bad decision. It's rooted in his refusal to make any real decisions. His responses in press conferences have become a punchline among fans. I don't have an update. We're still evaluating. Those vague answers might fly for a week or two during a tough stretch, but not when your team's direction is in question, your fan base is abandoning you, and your stadium is half empty. Fans don't expect miracles. They expect answers. They expect leadership. And right now they're getting neither. And then there's a quarterback issue, specifically the growing calls for Shedeur Sanders. Now, regardless of how ready he is or what the long-term plan might be, his name has become the rallying cry for one simple reason: hope. Because right now, the Browns aren't offering any, and fans have decided that any change, any bold decision, is better than continue with what clearly isn't working. What's made things worse is the silence around it. The outright refusal to even discuss Sanders as a legitimate option. There's been no public consideration, no strategic explanation, and definitely no transparency. Just more deflections. And when fans feel like they're being ignored, it only pushes them further away. It's not even just about whether Shedeur Sanders would be successful. That's not the point. The point is, he represents something this team desperately lacks right now. A pulse. A shift. A new narrative. Starting Sanders, or at least showing serious interest, would be a signal that leadership is awake and aware of the state of things. Instead, the organization is going radio silent while the season slips through their fingers. This growing disconnect isn't just anecdotal. The numbers don't lie. Ticket sales are cratering. Attendance is down. The Browns are no longer just losing games. They're losing relevance. And in professional sports, irrelevance is a death sentence. The drop in ticket prices is just one symptom of a much larger problem. Fan engagement is plummeting because they no longer trust the people at the top. They don't believe the coaching staff understands the urgency. They don't believe the front office is interested in course correction. And they certainly don't believe the team is listening. That lack of trust is everything. It's not something you can fix with a few wins or a press release. Once fans feel like they've been shut out, like their concerns don't matter, it takes real effort, real action to bring them, and it's not just the fans. This kind of leadership failure seeps into the locker room. 2. Players feel it when a team lacks direction. When coaching decisions are more about avoiding criticism than creating results. When the energy coming from the top is passive instead of purposeful. That lack of clarity starts affecting morale, then performance, then everything else. The Browns are at a breaking point, and everyone sees it, except, it seems, the people in charge. Because when fans are openly calling for the coach to be fired, when your home games are being mocked for looking like preseason matchups, and when the only real excitement is a quarterback you refuse to even acknowledge, it's not just bad optics. It's a full-on culture issue. The front office has failed to respond with anything meaningful. And that's not a PR issue, it's a leadership issue. At some point, you have to stop managing damage and start managing direction. But the Browns keep doubling down on nothing, on saying as little as possible, on hoping the storm will just pass. It won't. Cleveland fans aren't being unreasonable. They're not demanding perfection. They're asking for transparency, for effort, for a sign that someone is willing to take a chance and turn the narrative around. Because that's all it would take. One decisive move, like starting Sanders, to show that the Browns still have some fire in them. Right now, all they're showing is fear. Fear of backlash. Fear of change. Fear of looking like they don't have control. But here's the thing. They don't have control. And everyone already knows it. The fans know it. The media knows it. The stadiums show it. So what's left to protect? The only option now is to do something real. Something risky. Something bold. And it starts with recognizing that silence is no longer a strategy. It's a liability. The Browns' leadership needs to step out of their bunker and address the situation head-on. Speak directly to fans. Talk honestly about the team's direction. And most importantly, give them something, anything, to believe in. Right now, Shedeur Sanders is that belief. Not because he's guaranteed success, but because he represents movement, a break from the monotony, a rejection of the status quo. And the longer leadership pretends he doesn't exist, the more obvious it becomes that they're out of this moment is a test, not just of the team's talent, but of its integrity. Because when the fan base that has supported you through decades of dysfunction finally says, enough, you either rise to the moment or you disappear under the weight of your own inaction. Right now, the Browns are disappearing. Slowly. Publicly. And unless someone makes a move, this won't just be a disappointing season. It'll be the one that changed everything. The one where fans finally gave up, not because of the losses, but because of the silence. The opportunity to fix it is still there, but the window is closing fast. If you're a Browns fan or just someone watching this unfold and shaking your head, drop your thoughts below. Should the Browns start Sanders? Is Stefanski still the right leader? And how long should fans wait before demanding sweeping changes? Hit that like button if you're tired of leadership pretending everything's fine. Share this video if you know someone who's watched this collapse in real time. And subscribe for more deep dives like this, because the Browns may not be talking, but we will. There's no more hiding from it. No more pretending the dip in attendance is just a bad weather game, or that the $6 ticket prices are just a fluke in the resale market. The Cleveland Browns are in full-blown crisis mode. And this isn't about a losing streak. It's about leadership that seems paralyzed, detached, and completely out of touch with its own supporters. The truth is hard to miss. Fans are checking out. Not because they don't care, but because they've been given absolutely nothing to hold on to. No direction. No transparency. No hope. Just recycled quotes, vague pressers, and the same quarterback decisions that have led absolutely nowhere. The Stefanski era has now crossed a line. Not just into failure on the field, but failure in communication. Failure in adaptability, and failure to read the room. And let's not sugarcoat it. The room is emptying out. You can walk into Brown Stadium on a Sunday and feel the difference. The energy's gone. Entire sections are scattered with fans dressed more in frustration than team colors. It's not just a lack of noise, it's a lack of belief. People aren't just disappointed. They're tired. And when people get tired, they stop showing up. That's what we're watching now. A slow, steady disintegration of the emotional investment that has kept this franchise alive through decades of disappointment. It's not about wins. It's about effort, about engagement, about leadership that reflects the urgency fans are feeling. And right now, they're feeling abandoned. This team needed to respond weeks ago. The warning signs weren't subtle. The boos got louder. The ticket prices dropped. The name Shedeur Sanders began trending not because of hype, but because fans are desperate for something different, something fresh, something to believe in again. But instead of grabbing that opportunity, embracing it, addressing it, acknowledging it, leadership has met that groundswell of fan energy with silence, a total void of clarity. Stefanski, when asked directly about the quarterback situation, continues to deliver vague responses like, "I don't have an update," as if fans haven't been watching this same painful loop week after week. And that's the heart of the issue. Not that the team is struggling, but that it seems unaware or unwilling to adapt. When fans are screaming for change and leadership refuses to even respond, it creates a vacuum, a toxic one. Because if the people in charge don't show that they're willing to do something bold to right the ship, fans stop believing that anything can change at all. That vacuum is where apathy grows. And once apathy sets in, you can't sell your way out of it. You can't PR spin your way back to full stadiums. You can't throw out rally hashtags or community events and expect it to mask what's actually broken. This isn't a marketing problem. It's a football problem. And more than that, it's a leadership problem. The refusal to consider Sanders, despite the clear hunger from the fan base, is symbolic of a deeper dysfunction. This isn't about whether he's ready. It's about what his presence represents. Action, possibility, momentum, all the things this team is currently missing. Starting him would send a message, not just to the fans, but to the players. It would say, we're not going to sit back and accept this. It would say, we're willing to pivot, to try something different, to fight for every inch of progress we can make. Instead, we get the same rotations, the same excuses, the same stubborn commitment to a system that's actively losing the team both games and fans. And it's not just frustrating, it's insulting. Because let's not forget who we're talking about here. Cleveland fans are loyal. They're gritty. They've been through more than most fan bases could stomach and still show up until now. You know it's bad when even they've had enough. And when they start demanding real change, ignoring them isn't just tone deaf. It's reckless. This isn't a quiet crowd. They're calling for accountability. They want Stefanski to answer for his decisions. They want the front office to show that they're aware of the damage being done. They want anyone, to take ownership of the fact that the Browns are on the verge of becoming not just irrelevant, but radioactive. Ticket prices are more than just numbers. They're a temperature check. They tell you how the public feels about your product. When they're dropping to single digits, that's not about affordability. That's about value. Fans don't see value in what's being put on the field, and they definitely don't see value in the leadership guiding it. And again, it all comes back to communication. The Browns aren't losing the fan base because of their record. They're losing them because they refuse to speak plainly about the problems or even act like they know what they're doing. Leadership doesn't mean pretending everything's fine. It means owning what's broken and being willing to take the risks to fix it. Right now, there's zero indication that's happening in Cleveland, and fans have caught on. It's one thing to be in a rebuild, but this doesn't feel like a rebuild. It feels like a freeze. A total standstill in decision-making, where everyone's too afraid to admit that what's being done isn't working. And you know what? Fans don't want perfection. They just want progress. They want to know the team they love is trying, that there's a vision, a strategy, some sense of accountability. But if leadership refuses to move, refuses to explain, to adjust, or to acknowledge what's happening, what are fans supposed to do? Keep paying to watch it unfold? Keep pretending they don't see the pattern repeating? They stop pretending. That's why seats are empty. That's why tickets are cheap. That's why Shedeur Sanders is the most talked about name in a franchise that pretends he doesn't exist. So what happens now? If things don't change, the Browns risk something even worse than a losing season. They risk becoming irrelevant, forgotten, background noise in a league where drama, excitement, and star power are everything. And once that happens, it's nearly impossible to come back. This is a pivotal moment, not just for Stefanski, not just for the locker room, but for the entire organization. Either they acknowledge where they are and make the changes that need to be made, starting with the quarterback position, or they keep pretending the house isn't burning while fans quietly leave through the back door. There's still time, but not much. This could be the turning point. The moment where the Browns look back and say, that's when we got it together. Or it could be the moment they bury their credibility for good. Fans have done more than enough. They've shown patience, loyalty, passion. What they want now is action, leadership, a reason to believe again. And that means one thing: change. Start with communication. Start with transparency. And yeah, maybe start with Shedeur Sanders. This isn't just a bad stretch for the Cleveland Browns. It's an identity crisis. A full-blown public unraveling of trust, direction, and the unspoken contract between a team and its city. And the leadership's refusal to acknowledge that truth is exactly what's pushing this fan base away. Let's be very clear about this. Browns fans don't expect perfection. They never have. They've lived through years of instability, quarterback merry-go-rounds, front office drama, and public embarrassments. But through it all, they've stayed loyal. They've shown up. They believed. But what they're being asked to believe in right now, there's nothing, no clarity, no accountability, no plan, and no voice at the top to say, here's what we're doing to fix this. Instead, it's empty quotes and tone-deaf silence. And while the coaching staff may think that staying quiet is strategic, it's backfiring in the worst way, because silence doesn't calm panic. It amplifies it. When fans are already frustrated, not hearing from leadership is like throwing gasoline on the fire, especially when week after week, the product on the field looks flat, uninspired, and lifeless, especially when the quarterback situation is clearly broken, especially when there's an obvious option, Shedeur Sanders, who could, at the very least, represent a fresh direction. And still, the Browns act like they don't see what the rest of the league sees. They ignore the noise. They ignore the optics. They ignore the sentiment of the people they're supposed to be serving. That's what this comes down to, serving your fans. The NFL is a business, and fans are the customers. When you run a business where customers are literally begging you to make a change, and you keep giving them a blank stare in return, they eventually walk away. And now they're walking. You can see it in the seats. You can feel it in the stadium. You can read it in the resale listings. $6 and $9 tickets, the lowest they've been in years. Not because of bad weather, not because of a tough opponent, but because fans are saying with their wallets, we're done paying for disappointment. And not just disappointment in the record, but in the attitude. Because how does a team with this much history, this much talent on the roster, and this much fan loyalty reach this point of detachment? By refusing to evolve. By acting like stubbornness is a strategy. By clinging to the same failing system, game after game, press conference after press conference. When Kevin Stefanski refuses to give fans any real insight into his decisions, especially a quarterback, it doesn't come off as professional. It comes off as dismissive. And that's where the outrage begins. It's not about losing games. It's about losing connection. And Shedeur Sanders? He's more than a name right now. He's a symbol, a rallying cry. The one thing fans can point to and say, this could mean something different, whether or not he's a long-term answer. The demand to see him start isn't just about performance. It's about hope. Because without hope, why show up? Right now, Browns leadership is offering none. No vision, no voice, just more of the same tired lines. And a football team that looks like it's running out the clock on its own fans. What's worse is the public perception. Every week this situation goes unaddressed. The national conversation around the Browns gets uglier. Headlines about $6 tickets. National commentators calling out the coaching. Social media full of clips showing a half-empty stadium by the second quarter. Cleveland, once seen as a tough, loyal football town, is being reduced to a punchline. And that's not on the fans. That's on the people running this team. And the sad part? This could have been avoided. This still could be turned around. But not if the front office continues to pretend they don't hear the criticism. Not as Stefanski continues to shrug off real questions. Not if the Browns continue to treat their most loyal supporters like they don't deserve answers. Because this isn't just about one position. It's not just about who's under center. It's about the lack of urgency coming from every level of leadership. It's about the absence of action in the face of a very obvious collapse in fan trust. And here's the truth they don't want to face. Once trust is gone, it doesn't come back with a win or two. It takes a long, deliberate, honest rebuild, not just of the roster, but the relationship. And that relationship is fractured. The Browns are sitting on the edge of irrelevance, not because they're bad, but because they become predictably uninspired. That's the real problem. Fans will show up for a team that's rebuilding. They'll show up for a team that's fighting. But they won't show up for a team that acts like nothing's wrong. Right now, the Browns look like a team that has no urgency to fix the very thing that's driving fans away. That's why the calls for Sanders are getting louder. It's not even about guaranteeing a playoff push. It's about giving people something new to rally behind. Something exciting. Something bold. And yet, leadership continues to act like it's just noise. Like fans don't know what they're talking about. Like silence will somehow buy them time. It won't. Fans are no longer asking politely. They're leaving. They're choosing not to show up, not to spend money, not to invest emotionally. Because when you stop listening to your audience finds somewhere else to be. The Browns are out of time. Not out of games, but out of grace. The goodwill that's held this team up through decades of dysfunction is finally running dry. And if they don't want this season to end as a case study in how to mismanage a team and alienate a city, they have to act fast. Start Sanders. Or if that's not your plan, at least say what the plan is. Own your decisions. Talk to your fans like they matter. Because they do. And if you're not willing to take bold action, don't be surprised when the seats stay empty. When ticket prices keep sinking. When Cleveland stops showing up, not out of anger, but out of exhaustion. Because when fans get to that point, it's already too late. Let us know how you're feeling. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should the Browns finally start Sanders? Is the silence from Stefanski doing more harm than good? And where do the fans go from here? Hit that like button if you're tired of watching leadership fumble every opportunity for change. Share this if you know someone who's still hoping for a spark. And subscribe if you want more raw, real coverage of what's actually going down in pro football. Because we're not afraid to say what teams refuse to admit.